I want to revisit this 2021 quarterback draft class. It's way too early to say anything about Trey Lance, but he was part of it. And part of the reason the Niners traded up was the feeling at the time was this was the best quarterback class since 1983 with John Elway and Dan Marino. And just gets one of these guys, and it'll be okay because all 5 of them are great. Well, so far, sort of halfway into year 2, none of the 5 has really established himself as a excellent quarterback. In fact, all of their numbers are pretty middling. And there's excuses and reasons. What do you make of? Are you surprised? And what do you make of this development?
Well, they try to prepare you for that, right? When you see 5 quarterbacks get taken in the first 15 picks, it's like, well, only 2 of these guys are likely to pan out, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's just the odds.
At best,
now you have to figure out who are those guys going to be, and I'd say most people would lump quarterback Mac Jones into that just because you felt like it might not be high. But
until Bailey Zappi started balling, and I'm like, is Mac Jones still the starter on that team? I don't know. But yes,
right.
You're right. Yes, yeah,
right. And Mac has had his a lot of downs as well. There's been a lot of really weird moments for Mac Jones, but it is tough because you want to see these guys have a true opportunity, and it's still kind of early, especially in like year 2. I look at Trevor Lawrence. I think Lawrence has done a lot of really good things, but also there's been a lot of bad. Now, maybe it's the circumstances around him where there's inconsistencies, and finally he's getting a coaching staff, a coach that believes in him, and you start to see a little bit better. Then, oh man, he has a dip, and you look at some of these other guys, you see some of the same things. I would say this: the guy that I'm more, I don't want to say bullish on it just not working out because I could see it, but gosh, between Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, it's really tough for those guys right now because now they've played a good amount, but it's just I have no idea at all, and I have no idea what Trey Lance is either. But he's only played 4 games, but with those guys that actually have played and what it looks like is like I just need more from really both of them. Now the Jets, fortunately for them, they're 4-2 right now. And that's great, right? And now it kind of gives you that leeway of just going through, but they just won a game where Zach Wilson threw for 100 yards. Yeah. So I think Zach and Justin Fields, I'm probably a little bit, and Mac Jones, and not in a bad way, but I feel like I'm a little bit more bullish on, I think what I'm seeing is a little bit more of what they will be. But I'm trying not to, just rush to judgment just yet, but it looks a little funny.
My question to you is, with these guys sort of struggling their first couple of years, I mean, some of them may turn out to be great, but if they don't, is the evaluation process off in the NFL with the quarterback position, or is the coaching development process off? It's got to be one of the two. Or these quarterbacks are just young.
I think the rush on quarterback development and how it has to look. Yeah. Because when you look at a lot of these other guys, and again, you're going to have the outliers. So you see what, Burrow or Herbert, which Herbert, I don't know, he loses a lot of games, but he does some special stuff. But you see some of these guys that just hit the ground running, and I think you just think that all guys are supposed to look like that, and that's just not going to be the case. So ideally, these guys, I think my guy Quincy Avery says it, all quarterbacks need to sit. Like all quarterbacks. He's like, there shouldn't be any quarterbacks that come in and start because there's just too much going on, especially when you get drafted to a crappy situation, which a lot of these guys have.
But it's so hard for a team to sit a first-round pick at any position in today's NFL with that rookie contract scheme.
Well,
there's so much pressure.
That's the issue where it is hard, but it's really needed. But you just can't. There's such a rush. So now we got to make judgment on, you know what I'm saying, these guys early on, and everybody's doing everybody's going to look at that class and bust. And it's like, man, you're a year and a half in. Some of these guys have played more than others. There've been a lot of injuries and banged up. You've had coaching changes, guys getting fired middle of the year. You got a coach that's kicking punters on the ground. You got a lot of weird stuff going on with these guys. And it's like none of that matters because you're young. You gotta play. You gotta win. And I just think that the expectations are a little too rich for a lot of these guys that are coming out, and that's going to continue. That's not going anywhere, whether it's that class or this upcoming class, which I think there's some talented quarterbacks in this upcoming class. But you better make sure that you go to the 100% perfect situation for you, which I think Mac Jones did. And I think they also proved hey, man, we can find another guy that's pretty similar to him, but yeah.
Well, with Trey, I think it's an interesting comparison because he's trying to replace Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo sat for 3 years or more, and when he finally got to play with the Niners,
4 years.
He was
like 20 years. Yeah, 4 years. Yeah. 3.5 for sure.
He was like 26 years old, and he did win his first 7 starts, and that's a big reason why Niner fans will always love him more than anyone else. I mean, that's his team, and so for Trey, like he kind of needs to be at that level of development or better to win over the fan base and the franchise. That's tough. And so what's he going to need to do? Sit for 4 years? I mean, it's pretty tough. He seemed a little rough around the edges when he got on the field, as he was supposed to. But Niner fans, some of them were upset about it.
Like these just little keys, right? And it's easy with Trey Lance because, I get to see every throw, every play, right? Some of these other guys, I'll watch games and just be like, oh, look good. Oh, look a little rough or whatever. And Trey has had his rough moments, but because I've gotten the chance to see every single throw, I'm like, man, I have seen him get better. Like, I've seen him do things where it's like, man, I watch him against the Seahawks. He steps on the field as a rookie, and, man, this ball's flying all over the place. Like, ball hit the ground, one hop. You actually stop seeing those things. Like, I whether it was the Arizona game, you did see it in the air mail, then it's like, okay, can he get better from there? Then you watch him against Houston Texans in the regular season, and it's like, wow, where are the bad misses? You see him start to improve on some of those things, right? Then you
go back and watch Jalen Hurts when he was a rookie and he was like getting peppered in for it wasn't pretty all the time.
Right. And I saw Lance progressively getting better at all the things that I had questions about, right? Yeah. And it wasn't not even close to a final product, but just where he started and then where he's at now, and then where he's at. Okay, I see this. Oh, that was rough against the Houston Texans in the preseason. Then he comes out and he plays lights out. I don't want to say lights out. He missed the throw. He played very well for 3 quarters until a monsoon hit in Chicago, but he played very well. And then he comes out. Oh, again, then he played terrible once the monsoon hit. Terrible, guys. And those balls started flying around. I was there. It was a bad kind of setting. And then you watch him against the Seahawks, and it's like, I see the growth. He dropped back, boom, ball out of his hand, accurate throw to Brandon Ayuk. He has a nice catch and run. He gets blitzed, free runner right in his face. He doesn't bail on the play. He throws an accurate pass to the running back, and then he gets hurt running the ball. So I saw this progressively, like, small wins that you would have liked to see for a whole year, and you just don't get it because he got hurt, and that's tough.
That's the toughest thing is, like, Trey Lance does have the potential to become a great quarterback and the best quarterback in this class, but it just feels like Kyle Shanahan wasted 2 years of his development. Still, he's really young and he has time, and I wouldn't be surprised if the 2 quarterbacks that sort of make it from this class are him and Zach Wilson, who's 3-0 this year. Even though his numbers are really bad, all of a sudden he's on a good team. He's starting to win. Maybe he'll figure it out. I don't know. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is just losing so much, and he might be losing confidence. I don't know. All I see every time when there's like a highlight of the Jaguars, it's him on the sideline with his hair over his face and he's looking at something. He looks so depressed all the time. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah,
it's
you know
tough,
what I mean?
Man.
And like CJ Beathard sitting right next to him being like, dude, I thought you're supposed to be good.
Yeah, going to a tough situation and trying to overcome that, you got to know who you're drafting. And that's the same thing with Trey Lance. If Trey Lance is as a person who I thought he was going to be, or who I thought he was as a person, then he'll overcome this injury. He'll figure it out. But then you got to perform on the field, and the clock's ticking.
Absolutely. So I don't know. I think maybe it's like the scouts put too much emphasis on physical traits and not enough on mental traits. I mean, Tom Brady isn't playing at 45 because of his physical traits. It's because he's smart. So maybe that's part of it, or maybe these teams don't do a very good job of developing their quarterbacks. And it's rare.
Is the mental. Yeah. It's the mental traits of their what they can take here. So I'm with the Jets, right? I'm with the Jets. I'm in this locker room. I see these first round picks, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but it was very easy to see why this person doesn't work out, even though he has immense talent. And it wasn't because, well, he lacks something in the skill department. No, it's the preparation. It's the work ethic. So what you want to do is, what you hope you can do is mirror the big-time physical traits with the work ethic and mindset. And that's when you get.
And that's what they say about Trey, right? That's what they say about Trey.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yes. So you have to get there. I'm there, right, with Antonio Cromartie. And he was a freak. 6'3", 6'4", 215 pounds. Did not lose any sprint in any workout, right? Okay. But, I walk into the, locker room and stuff, and I go, okay, maybe I'm going to do a little contrast, hot tub, cold tub. And I look, Antonio Cromartie's in there just reading a book, sitting in the ice tub. Like, take every day. That was just every day. He got his little reading glasses on. He's reading in the ice tub, like just chilling, reading a book. And he prepared his body to the highest level. He prepared his mind. Croc, look, this concept right here. Woo. So when the physical capabilities matches the mental makeup, that's when you get the greatness. Now, you got to be able to see that, because Antonio Cromartie was a guy, how many games did he start in college? None. Nobody remember that. He was a top 15 pick by the Chargers. He did not start, and he tore his ACL. People forget all that stuff. And he still was drafted based off of, hey, man, this guy has a lot of potential. But they got this part right, and that's what's most important. So if you got this part right with Trey Lance, he has a chance. The other stuff is all BS.
I want to ask you about Geno, because Geno is an interesting case. I mean, he's one of these quarterbacks that was given a chance early. You could say he failed, got relegated to backup status for a very long time, now gets another opportunity in his 30s, and he's killing it. And this is kind of stuff that happened when we were kids with, like, Rich Gannon or Kurt Warner, although I'm not sure they were given opportunities early like Geno was. But it's a great story. You played with Geno. What was your impression of him? And are you, like, surprised that he's doing this? Or you kind of feel like, he had this in him?
I think Geno's early issues was a little bit more of a maturity thing.
Oh, okay.
Where, and not just he was young, right? I mean, he's talking about 22, maybe 23 going on at that time. And you got the weight of New York on your shoulders. He's a guy who put a lot of pressure on himself as well, I'm sure. Thought he was going to be a first-round pick. That didn't happen.
But going from West Virginia to New York is a whole different thing.
It's a whole different thing, and he was lights out there. So I think what we saw early on was not truly understanding exactly how I have to prepare, not truly prepared to really take on an entire organization. You had a coaching change in the middle of that with Rex Ryan, and dealing with all that stuff going on there. And then, you get delegated to being kind of a backup and a journeyman. But I think in that time, he learned a lot. He learned a lot about himself. He learned a lot how to prepare. If you watch Russell Wilson, right? Russell Wilson, people call him corny. He is hella corny, right?
Yeah.
But you can't question his preparation and how he goes about playing the game to the highest level. And if you're Geno Smith, okay, maybe I don't see the field, but I sit behind that for 3 years, you're going to learn some stuff. And it's like, man, I didn't learn this in New York. I ain't learned this with the Giants. Man, I ain't learned this whole way, along the way. But now I learned it. Now I'm better prepared. Now I'm much more mature for the situation than I was early on. And now the talent that you saw at West Virginia, although it might be a little delayed, now I'm able to just go out and be more of me. And I think that's what version of Geno Smith we're seeing right now.
Well, it's interesting. Like, so many quarterbacks, they're drafted in the first round. Geno was a second-round pick, but they're drafted high, and they start right away, and they're not ready, and coach gets fired, and the organization gives up on that quarterback, and all of a sudden he's a journeyman, like Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold, and maybe their confidence is so shook that they'll never recover, but it seems like there's potential with these guys, and they get discarded quickly, and maybe some of them have something there. Still, it's the process. This position is way too important for the league for them to be this bad at identifying and developing the position. I feel like baseball is much better at developing pitchers. There's that whole minor league system. Everyone takes their time. In football, it's like, it's a quarterback-driven league. We need you. Play right away. You suck. Oh no, what are we gonna do? It's like, come on.
I think that if teams had a minor league system where you just send your quarterback to just get the reps for 2 years. Right, you draft him for 2 years. You go, you just run this team. We're gonna put, whatever, and then hey, he's ready. Let's bring him up. If the NFL was ever able to do something like that, which they might not because they invest too much money in quarterbacks,
it's such a good idea.
The quarterback product would be so much better. They used to have NFL Europe. They don't got it when we were kids. They had NFL Europe. They don't got that no more. But if they had that and they were able to send it, hey, don't worry about the 49ers. You go do this. It's the same plays, etc. Just go play for 2 years. Learn the game. Learn how to be a leader. Learn all these things without the pressures of having to take the 49ers. And we're not going to bring you up at all in your first 2 years. I think the success rate of quarterbacks would be much higher.
Agree. And, like, that's what happened to Garcia. He didn't make it right away. He went to Canada. He balled out. He got to play. He got the reps. Kurt Warner went to the Arena Football League, balled out.
He played for the Iowa Barnstormers.
And the way I think about it is, like, it doesn't even have to be tackle football. If teams are really worried about, man, this got huge investments, we can't risk getting these guys hurt playing minor league football. It could be freaking 7-on-7. You just got to get these guys reps against NFL speed and NFL coverages. That's what you're trying to do. I'm just saying. Yep. But they'll never do it. And I would watch it. If they had 7-on-7 in the spring on NFL Network, that would be so much better than whatever they put on NFL Network in the spring. I would watch that all day.
I would too. Hey, real quick, somebody said, Croc, you're talking about Vernon Gholston. It was not Vernon Gholston who I witnessed.
Yeah, don't slander him like that.